So since my dad had family in the United States, he had a sister that was here from 1903. My mother had a brother and an aunt in the United States also. And also my mother had another aunt in London, England. And they decided to take a look at the feasibility of leaving Poland. My father at that time had to resign from his position as the chief accountant in that institution where he worked, and his friend, who was his vice chief accountant, took over at that point. They sort of switched position because of the constant pressure to join the Communist Party. So my dad decided that instead of living there under that system that he just couldn't agree with, and a lot of the members of the family died under that system, he decided to take advantage of a law that allowed to reunite families. And I'm not completely sure how that law came about, but there was a window during the time from 1957 to the early 60s where that was possible. It took 3 years to take care of all the documents to leave Poland. And actually, at first, we're supposed to leave within half a year to 1 year. So we had to do all the vaccinations, do a lot of the paperwork that was necessary, but then always something came up, something wasn't approved by the Polish authorities, and the delay kept kicking in. But finally, after 3 years, all the papers were, I guess, in order, and they allowed us to leave. When three of us were leaving, because my brother died earlier of pneumonia, they would only allow us $5 per person as traveling money. So you could not take any dollars out of Poland at that time. Luckily, my father's sister, she was fairly well off and living in Detroit. She lived in Redford Township. I was 11 years old when my father finally received the permission to leave Poland. So my aunt arranged a passage on the Polish ocean liner called Batory, and it was a luxury liner for those times. So we traveled, our family and another family rented a bus and took all our belongings that we could take, and on the boat you could take quite a bit. And we traveled to Gdynia, where we boarded the ship. It was 2 weeks on the ship, and it was actually a very nice experience because there was a swimming pool on the ship. The dining facilities were excellent. For the first time in my life, I was able to eat as much citrus fruits and other fruits that were available on the ship, something that you could hardly ever get in Poland at that time. And the ship went through the North Sea. There was one storm that we experienced, and everyone got sick during that storm, but otherwise the weather was nice. And we landed in Montreal. In Montreal, my mother's brother met us there, and since we had all the papers arranged and all the tickets arranged, we had to take a train to Detroit, actually to Windsor. So he only kind of stayed with us until we boarded the train. And we took the train to Windsor. In Windsor, we had to walk through the customs area. Then we had to go to a disinfectant area. And then finally, we got on a bus, arrived here in Detroit. And this is where my aunt met us. The journey from Poland to Hamtramck was a joyous one, because we knew that we were going to a country where life would be a lot better than it was in Poland. My father visited the United States right after, in 1957, there was a possibility to travel. So he stayed here for 6 months at that time, and he was taking care of all the documents necessary to bring the family over. So he already knew a lot about the conditions that we would find upon arrival. When we arrived in the United States, Hamtramck was not our original destination. My aunt lived in Redford Township, so we lived in her home for the first year. We knew no English. The only English I knew was how to spell my name, because this is something my father taught me before we left Poland. My mother knew no English. And my dad, he started learning English a little bit, but still he was not fluent at it. So when we came to States and stayed in Redford Township, my aunt enrolled me in grade school over there. And I had to use a dictionary, but I made friends very quickly. And each morning there was a bunch of friends who came by my house, and we walked together to school because my home was very close to school. My dad, he went to school, and his school was in Hamtramck actually. There was a barber school at the time, and since he could not get certifications to work in his field, he decided that 9 months was a reasonable time to finish the barber school and get a new occupation. Now, my mother didn't do anything in States. She just stayed a housewife, basically. So after 1 year, my father finished the barber school and started working in the Hamtramck Heights area, which was 7 Mile and Van Dyke. And my mother, she became very fascinated with Hamtramck, since this was a place where she could communicate with the stores, the banks, everywhere she went to in Polish, and the churches were all Polish, so this was an ideal place for her. So after 1 year, when my father started working, that was the place that she wanted to move into, and we moved to Hamtramck on Florian Street, just half a block away from the church. That was in 1963 that we moved into Hamtramck. Actually, my parents moved to Hamtramck a little before me, and I was still going to school, so I had to finish school before I came here. But when I moved to Hamtramck to my parents at that time, then I went to St. Florian's grade school. And the experience in Hamtramck was great. I made new friends right away. My mom was very happy. My dad was happy with the work he was doing. He was not stressed, anymore as the way that he was stressed in Poland. His job security was probably much better. And as far as my experiences go, it was I have nothing but great experiences in here. The grade school, the high school, and then university, Wayne State, and everywhere I went, I never experienced really, any hardships. There were a lot of friends. The life was good in Hamtramck.